welcome back to my channel. This is a week of dinners. I roasted a chicken. I roasted homegrown sweet potatoes. I used a can of my plain beets, which is one of my goals in my pantry. I made homemade pierogies and some brown bread like you would find at like a steakhouse with the oats on top. It was really delicious. I used some of that leftover chicken to incorporate into Monday's dinner, which was tikka masala and a bacon chicken ranch stromboli for my nephew. I sauteed some green beans and patty pan squash that I have preserved in my freezer that we grew in the garden, and we just served it over jasmine rice. I do have a video up about me making both the tikka masala, how we canned it, and then I also just uploaded a video more in depth of me preparing that dinner. If you're interested, go and check that out. Tuesday, we did a Mississippi pot roast. So I have a pork shoulder on the stovetop in a Dutch oven. I browned the meat first, and now I'm just adding my seasonings: dry ranch powder, onion powder, garlic powder, some salt, some pepper, and then I put in a whole jar of pepperoncinis, and I do believe I put in 1 stick of butter. My butter is quartered, but I did a total of one stick. And then I put it in the oven and I slow roast it 300 degrees, and typically in about 3 hours is when your roast will be ready, depending on the size of the roast, of course, that you're using. Mine are generally ready in about 3 hours. It's my favorite method to cook any kind of a roast. If I can stray away from using my slow cooker, I do, because I do much prefer a Dutch oven when it comes to my roasts. I served it with some corn and some mashed potatoes that I doctored up and added cheese. So those mashed potatoes were actually frozen. And in my pantry tour video that I just uploaded, I share with you how I have those quart bags of mashed potatoes in my freezer. So it's very easy to warm back through. I do not defrost them. I put them straight into the oven frozen. So of course you'll need some extra time to prepare them. And I cover them, and I kept them in my oven with the roast for about the last hour or so. After about 40 minutes, I uncovered them, gave them a really good stir, added a little heavy cream, and then I incorporated the cheese at that time. They were absolutely divine. So fantastic. You could also take the juice from your roast and you can turn it into a gravy. That would be really, really delicious as well. I decided not to do that for dinner this particular night. And then we did have leftovers for dinner the following night. It was so tasty. I could probably eat Mississippi pot roast once a week and I would never complain about it. So then after the leftovers, Thursday, I took out some of the cooked taco meat that I had in my freezer. I cooked up some rice in my rice cooker, which is not my favorite way to cook rice. It always burns the bottom. But every now and again, I'm not home and I need to have it cooked by the time I get home. So I'll have my kids kind of just prepare it in the rice cooker for me. I'm taking out some of the poblano peppers that I grew in my garden, and I'm going to get those over the top of that rice. I am really excited every time I get to pull out a bag of my homegrown peppers. It just brings me such joy. And I went ahead and did a generous amount of the cooked taco meat over top. I had a function where I was responsible for bringing the taco meat, and I had some left over, and so I just put it in the freezer. And for nights like this where I need something cooked semi-quick, I don't want to have to go through every step of the process of cooking the meat, cooking the rice, and getting everything put together. So this really helps to expedite dinner. Your meat is already cooked. Now it's just going into the oven so that everything can warm through. I have a can of Rotel that I'm going to put over the top of that. I would have added some green chilies as well, but I kind of figured because of the poblanos that it probably didn't need it. And your Rotel has chilies in it or jalapenos. It has some sort of a pepper in it as well. I am using my home canned black beans to then add on top of that. I keep different kinds of cheese in my freezer, and the lovely thing about that is when you thaw it, it crumbles really easily. So if you want to save yourself an additional step of not having to shred cheese, go ahead and freeze it because it just crumbles really nicely. You don't have to bring out the shredder. So I'm using pepper jack cheese over the top of this. It's going to go into the oven for about 30 to, I think it was about 45 minutes, I want to say. Everything just needed to warm through. You wanted to melt the cheese and you wanted to make sure every layer was good and hot. Also giving time for those peppers to cook down as well. Especially with poblano peppers, you really want to make sure they're good and cooked. Otherwise, the skin can kind of be tough. So this particular night, I really incorporated all four corners, it felt like, of my pantry. I used some of my freezer preserved food. I used some of my dry good foods. I used my home canned goods. I'm using the homemade canned salsa, and I'm also using the homemade canned corn relish, and we did both of those together on my channel if you want to go back and see how I did that. We had this for dinner the following night as well because it made so much. And then over the weekend, it was a very busy weekend. It was semi-chaotic. And so everybody sort of just did their own thing. And I didn't really have to make a one particular meal for the entire family. So this is what we did for dinners this particular week. If you go back and watch my most recent pantry tour video, please let me know if there's something that you'd like to see me use in a dinner, lunch, or perhaps a breakfast. I'd be happy to show you how I prepare those items for my family. I hope I see you next time I'm in my kitchen preparing for my family. Thanks for watching.